Emma's hand trembled on the doorknob. Not from the December cold in San Francisco, but because behind that sage-green painted wood was everything she'd spent 5 years avoiding. The scent of mulled wine and cinnamon filtered through the cracks, mixing with laughter she didn't quite recognize. Her mother had insisted so relentlessly there were no more excuses. "It's Christmas, Emma. The family needs you here." But her mother knew nothing. Nobody knew anything, and that ignorance was the only thing that had kept her safe. She took a deep breath. The cold air burned her lungs. She pushed the door open. The warmth inside hit her like a slap. Christmas lights twinkled on the tree that Aunt Margaret insisted on decorating every year with the same vintage German glass ornaments. Carols played from a portable speaker. Children ran between adults' legs. Everything looked pulled from a perfect postcard. Too perfect. Emma felt the smile she'd rehearsed in the car mirror freeze on her face. "Emma?" Her mother emerged from the kitchen, hands dusted with pie flour, eyes bright with genuine emotion. "I thought you weren't coming." The hug was tight, urgent, as if trying to recover 5 years of absences in a single embrace. Emma responded mechanically, her eyes scanning the dining room. She recognized faces. Uncle Robert with his ridiculous Christmas sweater. Cousin Jennifer, now with 2 small kids. Cousin Jake, who'd always been the family rebel, sat on the couch with a Sierra Nevada beer. But there was someone else. A slender silhouette, back turned, wearing an elegant black dress that contrasted with everyone else's casual Christmas attire. Dark hair pulled back in a low bun. Upright posture, almost defensive. Emma's heart stopped. No, it couldn't be. "Come, come." Her mother pulled her arm. "You have to say hi to everyone. It's been so long. Look, your cousin Ryan came from Seattle, and he brought his girlfriend. Her name is..." The woman turned around. Sophie Miller's eyes met Emma Taylor's across the dining room lit by colored lights. 5 years. 5 years since that August dawn, when they'd said goodbye without words, only with looks loaded with broken promises and silences that hurt more than any scream. 5 years since Emma had fled the Mission District, as if the entire neighborhood were on fire. And now she was there, Sophie. With the same wounded doe look Emma remembered in her worst sleepless nights. Time stopped. The carol in the background became a distant hum. Children's laughter faded. Only those dark honey eyes existed, looking at her with a mixture of surprise, pain, and something more dangerous. Recognition. "Sophie." Her mother finished the sentence Emma hadn't heard. "She's Ryan's girlfriend. Did you two already know each other?" The question fell like a stone in a calm pond. Sophie extended her hand first, professional, distant, as if they were 2 strangers at a business meeting. "Nice to meet you," she said with controlled voice. But Emma detected the microscopic tremor in the last syllable. Emma took that hand. The contact was electric. 5 years of absence evaporated in a second. Sophie's skin was still soft, her fingers long and firm, as Emma remembered, as she'd tried to forget for 1,825 nights. "Nice to meet you," Emma responded, and her voice sounded hollow even to herself. They let go of each other's hands, too fast, too slow. "Are you sure you didn't know each other?" insisted Linda, Emma's mother, with that maternal intuition that was always dangerous. "I could swear..." "No, Mom," Emma cut in more harshly than necessary. "We'd never met before." The lie floated in the air like smoke from the sage Linda burned at the entrance every Christmas to cleanse the energies. Sophie nodded almost imperceptibly, her lips forming a thin line. Ryan appeared then, wrapping his arm around Sophie's waist with possessive familiarity. "Em," he said with that nickname Emma had hated since childhood. Good thing you came. About time you quit that wandering life and came back to the family, right? Emma forced a smile. Ryan was still the same. Conventionally handsome, successful in business, with that security of a man who'd never had to question his place in the world. He was everyone's favorite cousin, the son her parents would have wanted, the man any woman should desire. And he had his arm around Sophie. Yes, Emma murmured. About time. Dinner passed in a succession of small tortures. Emma ended up seated across from Sophie at the long table they'd assembled by joining 2 tables of different sizes. Between them, a centerpiece with red poinsettias and cinnamon-scented candles. To Sophie's right, Ryan chatted animatedly with Uncle Robert about real estate investments. To Emma's left, Cousin Jennifer kept showing her phone photos of her kids. But Emma could only see Sophie, how she delicately cut her green bean casserole, how she took small sips of red wine, how she nodded politely to Uncle Robert's anecdotes without really listening, how, every so often, her eyes drifted toward Emma with an intensity that made the air feel dense, unbreathable. If you want to know how this story that's just beginning ends, subscribe now. YouTube prioritizes subscribers, and those who aren't subscribed miss out on future stories like this one. Emma. Her mother's voice pulled her from the trance. Tell us about your work. Are you still doing that photography thing? That photography thing. 5 years building a career as an independent photographer reduced to that photography thing. Emma gripped her fork. Yes, Mom. I'm still a photographer. Actually, I just had an exhibition at a gallery in Portland. Oh, how nice. Linda smiled without really understanding. And do you have a boyfriend yet? At your age, Jennifer already had 2 kids. The silence that followed was as thick as gravy. Emma felt Sophie's gaze burning her skin. Ryan let out an uncomfortable laugh. Leave her alone, Aunt Linda. Women nowadays are more independent. Not everyone wants to get married and have kids. But Emma was always so solitary, Linda continued, oblivious to the damage of her words. Ever since she came back from that summer camp years ago, she became so distant. Emma saw Sophie stop breathing for a second. The fork in her hand stopped midway to her mouth. That summer, the summer that changed everything. Which camp? Jennifer asked with genuine curiosity. One at Lake Tahoe, Linda replied. Emma was 22, had just finished college. I thought it would be good for her to clear her head before starting work seriously. But she came back different. Sophie set down her fork with excessive care. Her knuckles were white. Mom, Emma said with tense voice, that was a long time ago. It's just curious, her mother continued, unstoppable. You left for a month and came back like a different person. You stopped going out with your friends, started traveling all the time, never brought anyone home. Maybe she's a lesbian, Uncle Robert blurted out with an alcoholic laugh, pretending to be a joke. The entire dining room froze. Some laughed uncomfortably, others looked away at their plates. Ryan cleared his throat. Jennifer elbowed her husband as if saying, do something. And Sophie? Sophie stared at her wine glass as if it contained all the answers in the universe. Emma felt heat rising up her neck, the humiliation, the rage. The old familiar fear of being discovered, exposed, judged by people who claimed to love her but would understand her less than an alien. No, she finally said, and the word tasted like ash. I'm not a lesbian. Another lie. More invisible sage smoke. Sophie looked up then. Her eyes met Emma's. And in that look there was so much reproach, so much contained pain, so much accumulated betrayal, that Emma had to look away. She felt something breaking inside her chest, something she'd been trying to hold together with wire and willpower for 5 years. Well, "Then get yourself a good man already," Uncle Robert declared, considering the topic closed. "A beautiful woman like you shouldn't be alone." The conversation flowed to other topics. Ryan's business, Jennifer's children, Aunt Margaret's New Year's plans. Emma ate mechanically, tasting nothing. The green beans tasted like cardboard, the glazed ham like wet paper, the red wine like betrayal. When dinner finally ended, and they brought dessert, a pumpkin pie Linda had bought from Whole Foods, Emma excused herself to go to the bathroom. She needed air. She needed silence. She needed to not see Sophie's gaze for at least 5 minutes. The bathroom was small, with chipped subway tiles and a mirror that had seen better days. Emma splashed cold water on her face. In the reflection, she saw a 27-year-old woman with deep dark circles and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. A coward. A liar. A woman who'd fled the Mission District because that's where all the memories she couldn't afford to keep were. Someone knocked on the door. "Occupied," Emma said with hoarse voice. "Open up." Sophie's voice cut through the wood like a hot knife through butter. It wasn't a request. It was an order. Emma considered ignoring her, staying locked in until Sophie got tired and left. But her hands were already opening the latch, betraying her like they had 1,000 times before. Sophie entered the bathroom and closed the door behind her. The small space became minuscule. Emma could smell her perfume, something expensive, cedarwood and spices. The same one she'd worn 5 years ago. The one Emma had unconsciously searched for in other women and never found again. "What are you doing here?" Emma whispered, though she knew the question was absurd. "I came with Ryan," Sophie responded with clinical coldness. "He invited me to spend Christmas with his family." How ironic, right? 5 years avoiding this neighborhood, avoiding any family event where you might be, and it turns out... "I didn't know you were with him," Emma interrupted. "And does that change anything?" Sophie's eyes glistened with contained tears. "Does it matter who I'm with, Emma? You left me. You left without explanation, blocked my number, disappeared as if I'd never existed." "I had to." Emma's voice broke. "Had to?" Sophie let out a bitter laugh. "Or wanted to, because there's a big difference between having to run away and choosing to be a coward." The word fell between them like a sentence. "You don't know anything," Emma murmured. "You don't know what it was like for me." "You're right. I don't know. Because you never gave me the chance to know." Sophie took a step closer. Emma backed up until her back hit the sink. That night, after everything we said, after everything we promised, I woke up alone. I found a note that said, "I'm sorry," and nothing more. Do you have any idea what that's like? Do you have any idea how many nights I spent waiting for an explanation that never came? Sophie. "And now you're here," Sophie continued, her voice breaking. "Sitting across from me at a Christmas dinner, lying about who you are, saying you're not a lesbian when we both know the truth. When I know how you trembled when I touched you, when I remember every word you whispered to me in the darkness of that cabin at Lake Tahoe." Emma felt tears rolling down her cheeks. She couldn't stop them. She no longer had strength to keep pretending. "I couldn't stay," she finally said. "My family, you don't understand. My mother, my uncle, all of them have expectations. I'm the only daughter. The one who has to give grandchildren. The one who has to marry well. The one who has to live a lie," Sophie finished. "The one who has to survive," Emma corrected. "Not all of us can be brave like you, Sophie. Not all of us can just tell the truth and expect the world to accept us." "I didn't do that either," Sophie whispered, and her voice sounded so broken that Emma looked up. Do you think I ran out to tell my family about us? Do you think it was easy for me? I also have a conservative mother. I also come from a Catholic family where I'm expected to marry in a church with a good man. But the difference is, I was willing to fight, to try, with you. The silence that followed was so heavy, Emma felt the bathroom shrinking even more. Why are you with Ryan? She finally asked. Sophie wiped away a tear with the back of her hand. Because you were right, she said with hollow voice. Because it's easier to live the lie than fight the world. Because after you left me, I tried to come out to my family, and it was... Her voice broke. It was devastating. My father didn't speak to me for a year. My mother cried every time she saw me. My brothers looked at me like I was a stranger. And then I met Ryan at a work event. He's good, kind. He treats me well. And he doesn't ask why I sometimes cry for no reason. Sophie. He asked me to be his girlfriend 6 months ago. I said yes because I was tired. Tired of fighting. Tired of being alone. Tired of remembering you every time I saw the sunset over Lake Tahoe. Emma extended her hand without thinking, barely touching Sophie's cheek. The contact was like electricity. Sophie closed her eyes, leaning slightly into the caress, like a flower seeking sun after a long winter. I've thought about you too, Emma admitted. Every day, every night, every time I lift the camera and capture something beautiful, I think of how you taught me to see beauty in small details. Sophie opened her eyes. They were centimeters apart. Emma could count Sophie's eyelashes. She could see the golden flecks in her honey-colored irises. She could feel their breath mixing. Don't do this, Sophie whispered. Don't give me hope if you're going to run away again. I'm not going to run away. Liar. And before Emma could respond, someone knocked hard on the bathroom door. Soph, are you okay? Ryan's voice sounded worried. You've been in there a long time. Sophie pulled away abruptly, as if Emma burned. She quickly dried her tears, fixed her hair, recomposed the mask of perfect girlfriend she'd worn all night. I'm fine, honey, she responded with firm voice. I'm coming out now. She threw Emma one last look. In it there was pain, nostalgia, warning, and a silent question neither dared formulate out loud. Then she opened the door and left the bathroom, leaving Emma alone with her shattered reflection in the subway tile mirror. Emma waited 5 minutes before leaving. When she returned to the dining room, Ryan had his arm around Sophie, who smiled politely at something Aunt Margaret was saying. Nobody seemed to notice anything strange. Nobody had perceived the storm that had just unleashed in the small bathroom at the back. Emma, her mother waved. Come, we're doing the gift exchange. The family tradition. Each person brought a wrapped gift without a name, put them in a basket and distributed them randomly. Emma had bought an alpaca scarf in Portland, something neutral and safe. She took a random gift from the basket, a book. 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel Garcia Marquez, old edition, with dog-eared corners. When she opened it, she found a dedication on the first page. For you, who taught me to see entire worlds in a single summer. S. Emma's hands trembled. She looked for Sophie with her gaze. She was on the other side of the dining room, unwrapping her gift, a bottle of wine. But her eyes were fixed on Emma. They'd planned this. Somehow, Sophie had put that specific book for Emma to receive. It was the same book they'd read together at Lake Tahoe, taking turns reading aloud under the starry sky. The book Sophie had given her when they finished reading it, with that same dedication. The book Emma had left behind when she fled, because it hurt too much to keep. What did you get? Her mother asked, peeking. Emma closed the book quickly. Nothing important, she lied. Just a used book. But she pressed the book against her chest as if it were the most valuable thing in the world. The rest of the night passed in a fog. More carols, more mulled wine, more forced laughter. Ryan proposed a toast to family and true love, and Emma had to drink while avoiding looking at Sophie. Aunt Margaret handed out king cake figurines even though it was more than a week early. The children fell asleep on the sofa, covered with wool blankets. Around midnight, families began saying goodbye. Ryan helped Sophie put on her gray coat. Emma watched them from the kitchen, where she pretended to help her mother store leftover food in containers. "They're a nice couple, aren't they?" Linda commented. Ryan was always so responsible, and that Sophie is a well-educated girl. "Lawyer," she told me. "Works at an important firm." Was all Emma could articulate. "I hope you find someone like that too," her mother sighed. "Someone to take care of you, to give you stability." Emma closed the container with more force than necessary. "Stop, Mom. Don't start. I'm just saying you're not that young anymore. I'm 27, not 50. At 27, I already had you." Linda shook her head. "But well, you young people nowadays have other priorities." Emma didn't respond. Through the kitchen window, she saw Ryan and Sophie saying goodbye to the other guests. Ryan was laughing, patting Uncle Robert on the back. Sophie smiled courteously, giving kisses on the cheek to the aunts. Then, for a second, Sophie turned her head toward the kitchen window. Her eyes met Emma's. The message was clear. This isn't over. They left in Ryan's car, a silver BMW that reflected the street's Christmas lights. Emma watched them drive away until the taillights disappeared when they turned the corner. "Are you staying over?" her mother asked. "No," Emma responded quickly. "I have to get back to my apartment. Tomorrow I have things to do." "You always have things to do," Linda sighed with resignation. "Okay, honey, drive carefully." Emma said goodbye to everyone. Hugs, promises of "see you soon," both knew wouldn't be kept. She walked to her car, an old Honda Civic she'd bought secondhand, parked 3 houses down because there hadn't been room in front. The night in the Mission District was cold and silent. The cobblestone streets shone under the street lamps. In the distance, music could be heard from some party still going. The smell of gunpowder from fireworks mixed with the sweet aroma of churro stands that hadn't closed yet. Emma put the key in the car lock, and then she felt it. A presence behind her. She turned around. Sophie was there, 3 meters away, under the shadow of a jacaranda without flowers. She'd taken off her coat despite the cold. The black dress clung to her slender body. She looked like an apparition. A ghost from the past Emma couldn't exorcise. "I told Ryan I forgot my purse," Sophie said with neutral voice. "I have 5 minutes before he starts to worry and comes back looking for me." Emma said nothing. She didn't know what to say. All words had been exhausted in the bathroom. Sophie walked toward her, slowly, as if approaching a scared animal that might run away at any moment. "I saw you looking at me all night," she said when she was less than a meter away. "Like you were dying of thirst and I was water." "Sophie, you know what the worst part of all this is?" Sophie continued, her voice barely trembling. "That I looked at you the same way. That I spent the whole dinner pretending to listen to your Uncle Robert while I could only think about how your skin feels against mine. About how you tasted like mint and wine the first time I kissed you. About how you said my name when—" "Stop," Emma pleaded. "Please." "Why? Because it hurts?" "Good. Let it hurt. I've been hurting for 5 years." They looked at each other in the silence of the deserted street. The wind moved the jacaranda branches. A dry leaf fell between them like a sign. "I can't give you what you want," Emma finally said. "I can't be who you need me to be. I'm not asking you to be anyone but yourself. That's exactly the person I can't be here." Sophie nodded slowly, as if accepting a truth she'd always known but resisted admitting. "So this is goodbye," she murmured. "This is—" Emma searched for the right words and didn't find them. "This is the only thing we can have." Sophie took another step closer. Now they were so close, Emma could see the goosebumps on her arms from the cold. She could see the pulse beating in her neck. She could see the raw pain in her eyes. "One last thing," Sophie whispered. "One last truth before you run away again." "What?" "I've never stopped loving you, not a single day in these 5 years, and I hate that it's true." Then she did something Emma didn't expect. She leaned in, barely brushing Emma's lips with hers. It wasn't a real kiss. It was a ghost of a kiss, a promise of what could have been in another world, in another life, with another family. Then she pulled away and walked back toward the house, where she'd pretended to forget her purse. Emma watched her walk away, the slender figure fading into the shadows of the Mission District like she had faded 5 years ago. Only this time, Emma knew she wouldn't let her go so easily. She got in her car, started the engine, but instead of driving away, she sat there, hands on the steering wheel, trembling. The Garcia Marquez book was in the passenger seat. She took it and opened it again to the dedication. "For you, who taught me to see entire worlds in a single summer. S." A tear fell on the faded ink. Emma finally started driving through the streets of the Mission District, but not toward her apartment in Soma as she'd planned. She drove aimlessly, passing the closed artisan market, empty Mission Dolores Park, Clarion Alley with its dimly lit murals. Everything reminded her of Sophie. Every corner, every bench, every cafe where they'd dreamed of a future that would never come. She stopped in front of Mission Dolores Park, the same park where 5 years ago they'd said goodbye before Emma fled, under the same jacaranda that was now bare of flowers. She turned off the engine and cried. She cried for the summer she lost, for the love she abandoned, for the woman she could have been if she'd had Sophie's courage. And she cried because she knew that tomorrow she'd have to get up, continue with her life of carefully constructed lies, and pretend that Sophie Miller hadn't come back to break her heart into pieces. The phone vibrated in her purse. A message from an unknown number. "Ryan's going to Seattle on Friday for work. Comes back Sunday. If you want to talk, you know where to find me. Apartment 304. Same building where I lived before. I never really left the Mission. Only you. S." Emma looked at the message for a long time. Then she wrote a response. "I can't." She deleted the letters. She wrote again. "I shouldn't." She deleted again. Finally she wrote, "What time?" The response came in seconds. "When you dare to stop running." Emma put away the phone. She looked at the deserted park, the jacaranda without flowers, the stone bench where they'd sat so many times. And she knew that Friday night she'd be knocking on the door of apartment 304. Because some loves don't die. They just wait. Emma spent the next 3 days in constant anxiety. In her Soma apartment, small but bright, with white walls full of her photographs, she tried working on editing a project for a client. Weddings. They always commissioned her for weddings. Smiling heterosexual couples, traditional families, promises of eternal love made in front of altars. Every photo she retouched felt like mockery. Wednesday afternoon, her best friend from college, Morgan, arrived without warning with tacos and 2 Lagunitas IPAs. "You look terrible," was her greeting as she left the food on the coffee table full of external hard drives and camera batteries. "Thanks," Emma murmured without looking up from her laptop. Morgan was a graphic designer, had purple-dyed hair and more piercings than Emma could count. She was one of the few people who knew the truth about Emma. Not the whole truth. Nobody knew the whole truth about Sophie, but enough not to ask why Emma never had boyfriends. "What happened?" Morgan asked, sitting on the worn couch Emma had bought at a flea market. "You have that face you make when your mom asks when you're going to settle down." Emma closed her laptop with a sigh. "I went to the Christmas dinner at my mom's." "I already knew that was a bad idea." Morgan took a bite of her taco. "I told you. Don't go, Em. You always get messed up after seeing your family." I couldn't say no again. I'd already made up excuses for the last 5 years. "And? How terrible was it? On a scale of, your aunt asked why you don't have a boyfriend, to your mother organized a blind date without telling you?" Emma took her beer and drank a long gulp before responding. "She was there." Morgan stopped chewing. She? Her. Holy shit. Morgan put down her taco. "The girl from the summer? The one you've never wanted to tell me the whole story about?" "Sophie," Emma said, and the name tasted like bitter honey. "Her name is Sophie." "Okay, Sophie." Morgan settled into the couch, preparing for a long story. "What was she doing at your family dinner?" "Don't tell me." "She's my cousin Ryan's girlfriend." Morgan was silent for a moment, processing. Then she let out an incredulous laugh. "No way. Are you telling me the woman who broke your heart 5 years ago is now dating your cousin?" "I broke her heart," Emma corrected in low voice. "I was the one who left." "And why is she with your cousin?" "Because it's easier." Emma rubbed her face. "Because living the lie is simpler than telling the truth." Morgan kept silent, observing her friend with compassion and frustration. "Did you talk to her?" "In the bathroom, and then on the street, after dinner." "And?" Emma showed her the message on her phone. Morgan read it and whistled softly. "She's inviting you to her apartment when her boyfriend, your cousin, isn't there. This is... I know." "No, I don't think you do." Morgan leaned forward. "This is self-destruction. This is lighting a match in a gas station. This is... necessary," Emma finished. "I need to talk to her. I need to... close that chapter." "And close the chapter or reopen it?" Emma didn't respond because she had no answer. Morgan sighed, took her beer and clinked it against Emma's. "Okay. You're my best friend, and I'm going to support you even if it's the worst idea in the world. But I want to know the whole story. The real story. Not the summarized version you gave me 5 years ago when you came back from Lake Tahoe in pieces." Emma drank from her beer. She looked out the window at the Soma streets, where people walked without the weight of secrets that hurt like stones in the chest. "Okay," she finally said. "I'll tell you everything." And she began to speak. Lake Tahoe in July was paradise. Emma had arrived at the photography camp almost by accident. Her mother had enrolled her without consulting, worried her daughter spent too much time locked up after finishing college. "You need to meet people, Emma. Make contacts. Live a little." The camp was at a ranch converted into a retreat center, surrounded by pine forests and overlooking the lake. 30 people of different ages had paid to learn landscape photography techniques with a renowned photographer. Emma arrived without expectations, ready to spend 4 weeks alone, taking photos and avoiding deep conversations. Sophie Miller arrived the same day, but later, when the sun was already setting. Emma saw her get out of a taxi, carrying a suitcase larger than necessary, and with hair pulled back in a ponytail disheveled from the trip. She wore thin-framed glasses that gave her an air of seriousness, worn jeans, and a simple white t-shirt. She wasn't the kind of beauty that screams for attention, but the kind that reveals itself slowly, like a photograph developing in a darkroom. They didn't speak that first day, nor the second. Emma was shy by nature, and Sophie seemed distant, always with a book during breaks. But on the third day, During an excursion to the lake to practice reflection photography, they ended up in the same group. "Good reflections," Sophie commented, looking over Emma's shoulder while she reviewed her photos on the camera screen. "Thanks," Emma murmured, feeling heat rising to her face without understanding why. "Do you always turn red when someone gives you a compliment?" Sophie asked with a small smile, barely a curve on her lips. "Only when—" Emma stopped, not knowing how to finish without sounding ridiculous. "Only when what?" "When the compliment comes from someone who also knows what they're doing," she finished awkwardly. Sophie let out a soft laugh. "I don't know anything about photography. I'm here because I needed to get out of the city, escape a little." "What are you escaping from?" Emma asked before she could contain herself. Sophie looked at her then with those honey-colored eyes Emma would learn to know in every shade depending on the light. "From expectations," she responded. "And you?" "From the same, I suppose." It was the beginning. That night, during the bonfire the instructors organized, Sophie sat next to Emma without asking permission. They shared a blanket because the mountain air was cold despite being July. They talked in low voices while the others sang guitar songs. Sophie was studying law. She was about to start her last year of college. She came from a family of lawyers. Father, mother, 2 older brothers, all lawyers. She was expected to be one too, to join the family firm, to marry someone from the same social circle, to have children who would perpetuate the Miller name with honor. "Sounds suffocating," Emma commented. "It is," Sophie admitted, "but it's what there is." "What about you?" "I studied. Just finished. Visual communications, specialization in photography." "And what's expected of you?" Emma shrugged. "To get a stable job, to get married, to have kids, the usual." "Who are you supposed to marry?" "Any decent man who wants to deal with a mediocre photographer." Sophie looked at her with intensity then. "You're not mediocre. I saw your photos. You have real talent. How do you know which ones are my photos?" "Because I've been watching you since I arrived," Sophie admitted without shame. "You're the only person here who takes photos of people instead of just landscapes. You capture moments, emotions. It's different." Emma felt something moving in her chest, something dangerous and unknown. "Thanks," she murmured. That night, when the bonfire went out and everyone returned to their cabins, Emma couldn't sleep. She thought about Sophie, about how she'd said, "I've been watching you," with that naturalness. About how the shared blanket had smelled of that cedar wood and spice perfume. About how the simple brush of their shoulders had made Emma's skin rise. "No," she told herself in the darkness of the cabin shared with 3 other girls who snored softly. "You can't. You shouldn't." But some truths are like rivers. You can build dams all you want, but eventually they find a way to flow. If you're liking this story, hit like now. It helps me keep bringing more stories like this. The second week of camp, the photographer-instructor organized a night excursion to photograph the stars. Groups of 5 people had to walk to a clearing in the forest and practice long exposure photography. Emma and Sophie ended up in the same group. It wasn't an accident. They both knew it. The forest at night was a different world. The pine scent was more intense, the sounds amplified, the crunch of dry leaves, the distant hoot of an owl, the murmur of an invisible stream. The group walked in single file, illuminating themselves with headlamps. Sophie walked ahead of Emma, and Emma couldn't stop watching how she moved, graceful as a deer among the trees. When they reached the clearing, the sky opened above them. Millions of stars shone with an intensity impossible to see in the city. The Milky Way was a bright scar cutting across the universe. "Oh my God," Sophie whispered, tilting her head back. Emma mounted her camera on the tripod, adjusted the settings, but couldn't concentrate. She kept looking at Sophie, who'd taken out her phone and was clumsily trying to capture the sky. "Let me help you," Emma said, approaching. "I don't know how to use this," Sophie admitted with frustration. "It's not like professional cameras." "It doesn't matter. The important thing is to capture what you feel, not just what you see." Emma positioned herself behind Sophie, guiding her hands while adjusting the phone settings. They were so close she could feel the warmth of Sophie's body through their jackets. She could smell her shampoo, something floral, maybe lavender. "Like this," Emma murmured. "Now just wait. Magic takes time." "How long?" 30 seconds. "But they'll feel like forever if you don't move." They stayed like that. 30 seconds that felt like 30 minutes. Emma was painfully aware of every point where their bodies touched. Shoulder against shoulder, hand over hand, one's breath brushing the other's neck. When the phone finally captured the image, Sophie turned around. They were still very close. Too close. Emma could count every eyelash behind Sophie's glasses. "Thank you," Sophie whispered. "You're welcome," Emma responded, though she wasn't sure what Sophie was thanking her for. The rest of the group was scattered, each focused on their own shots. Nobody was paying attention. It was as if they were the only two people in the universe. "Emma," Sophie said in a voice so low the wind almost took it. "Can I ask you something?" "Yes." "Have you ever felt something for someone and known it was wrong, but you can't help it?" Emma's heart stopped. "What do you mean?" "I mean that." Sophie hesitated, biting her lower lip. "I've been trying not to think about you for a week, and it's impossible. That every time I see you, my heart does strange things. That when we shared that blanket at the bonfire, I wanted..." She stopped. "What did you want?" Emma asked, even though part of her screamed not to ask, to run, to pretend she hadn't heard anything. "To get closer, to touch you, to find out if your skin is as soft as I imagine." The silence that followed was so dense, Emma could hear her own pulse hammering in her ears. "You shouldn't say those things," she finally murmured. "I know. That's why I'm asking if it's wrong. Because I already know the answer. But I need to know if you feel the same." Emma should have said no. Should have pulled away. Should have made up an excuse and returned to the group. Should have done anything except what she did. She took off Sophie's glasses with trembling hands. Then she leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away, to say no, to stop what was about to happen. Sophie didn't pull away. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, like two people discovering a new language. But then something changed. It became deeper, more urgent, more real. Emma felt Sophie's hands tangling in her hair. She felt the soft moan that escaped Sophie's throat. She felt how the entire universe reduced to that clearing in the forest, to that starry sky, to those lips that tasted like mint and dangerous promises. When they separated, both were trembling. Not from the cold. "Oh God," Sophie whispered. "What did we just do?" "I don't know," Emma admitted, touching her lips as if she couldn't believe they'd been kissing a second ago. "We have to. This can't..." Sophie took a step back, running her hands through her hair. "My family. Yours. This isn't right." "I know. Then why does it feel so right?" Emma had no answer for that. They returned to camp in silence, walking separately as if they were strangers. But Emma knew something irreversible had happened under that starry sky. A line had been crossed. A secret had been born. That night, Lying in her cabin, Emma received a message from an unknown number. Cabin 7. Tomorrow at 3 a.m. If you come, it means you want to know what else we can be. If you don't come, we'll never talk about this again. S. Emma looked at the message for hours. She knew she should delete it, block the number, act as if nothing had happened. But at 2:50 a.m. she was quietly leaving her cabin, crossing the dew-wet grass, softly knocking on the door of cabin 7. Sophie opened in seconds. She wore an old t-shirt and pajama pants, no glasses, with her hair loose falling over her shoulders. Emma had never seen anything more beautiful. "You came," Sophie murmured, as if she couldn't believe it. "I came," Emma responded. Sophie pulled her inside and closed the door. The cabin was empty. Her roommates had decided to stay in another cabin after a night of drinks. They looked at each other for a long moment. Then Sophie took a step forward and kissed her again. This time there were no doubts, no silent questions, only certainty, only need. Only two women discovering that what they felt was bigger than fear. They spent that night talking in whispers, kissing when words weren't enough, exploring with trembling hands what it meant to be touched by someone who understood. Sophie confessed she'd never been with a woman before, but that she'd known since she was 15 that something was different about her. Emma admitted she'd had a boyfriend in college because it was expected of her, but that she'd never felt what she was feeling in that moment. "I'm scared," Sophie whispered as dawn broke. The two of them curled up in the narrow bed. "Me too." "What are we going to do after camp?" "I don't know." "Promise me something." Sophie propped herself up on one elbow, looking at Emma with those eyes she already knew in every shade. "Promise me we won't run from this, that we'll try, that we'll be brave." Emma should have said she couldn't promise that it was asking too much. That the world wasn't ready for two women in love, especially not their conservative families. But under the golden light of dawn, with the warmth of Sophie's body next to hers, Emma said, "I promise." It was the first promise she would break. "And then what happened?" Morgan asked, completely absorbed. Emma took another drink of beer, which was already warm. "We spent the next 2 weeks in a state of euphoria and terror," she continued. "We were careful. We didn't show anything in front of the others. But every night we met. Sometimes we just talked. Other times..." She left the sentence hanging. "Other times you didn't just talk," Morgan completed with a small smile. "No," Emma admitted. "We discovered things about ourselves, about what it meant to feel complete. We planned a future. Sophie was going to finish college, work for a year at the family firm to save money and then quit. I would look for work as a freelance photographer. We'd rent an apartment together. We'd tell our families when we were ready, when we had a solid plan. But you didn't get to that point." "No. The last day of camp, my mother called. My grandmother had had a fall. Nothing serious, but enough for my mother to panic. She asked me to return immediately, to accompany her to the hospital." Morgan leaned forward. "Sophie offered to come with me. She said we could face everything together, that it was time to start our real life." "And you?" "I panicked." Emma felt the tears forming. Suddenly everything became very real. It wasn't just a summer fantasy. It was my life, my family, my future. How was I going to tell my mother in the middle of the crisis with my grandmother, "Oh, by the way, I'm a lesbian and I'm in love with a woman I met 3 weeks ago"? "So you ran." "So I ran," Emma admitted with broken voice. "I told Sophie I needed time, that things had moved too fast, that maybe when we got back to the city we could see each other and talk calmly. She accepted it. She hugged me. She told me she loved me, and I told her I loved her too. But it was a lie. No, that's the worst part. It wasn't a lie. I loved her. I love her. But love wasn't enough. Emma wiped her tears. I returned to the city. Days passed. Sophie sent me messages, calls. She wanted to see me. I made up excuses. The hospital. My grandmother. Work. 1 week. 2 weeks. A month. And then? Then my mother organized a family lunch. A cousin who lived in Seattle was visiting with his new girlfriend. My mother insisted I go. That I meet the girl. That I be nice because they might get engaged soon. Morgan closed her eyes. Don't tell me. The cousin's girlfriend was Sophie. Holy shit. She saw me and turned pale. I almost threw up right there. It turns out that after I stopped responding to her messages, after I blocked her number because I couldn't stand to keep lying, she met Ryan at a lawyer networking event. He was interested in her. He asked her out. She accepted because, in her words, I was already tired of waiting for someone who clearly wasn't coming back. Emma. That was the last time we saw each other, 5 years ago, until the Christmas dinner. Emma finished her beer. Now you know the whole story. Morgan was silent for a long moment. Then she got up from the couch and hugged her friend tightly. You're an idiot, she said without cruelty. But you're my best friend, and I love you. Emma clung to the hug like a drowning person to a life preserver. What am I going to do, Morgan? Do you really want my opinion? Yes. Morgan pulled away, looking at her seriously. You're going to go to that apartment on Friday. You're going to talk to her. You're going to be honest for the first time in 5 years. And then you're going to make a decision. Either you dare to live your truth, or you say goodbye to her forever. But you can't keep in this limbo, Em. It's killing you. Emma nodded. Though she wasn't sure she had the courage Morgan seemed to believe she had. Thursday was the longest day of her life. She tried to work and couldn't. She tried to distract herself with a Netflix series and ended up watching the same scene 3 times without registering what was happening. She tried to sleep early and stayed awake until 4 a.m, staring at the ceiling, thinking about Sophie. Friday dawned gray. That fine drizzle typical of December in San Francisco was falling. Emma showered, changed clothes 4 times, finally opted for jeans and a simple black sweater. Nothing special, like it was any normal afternoon. At 6 p.m, she took her car and drove to the Mission District. Sophie's apartment was in a 4-story building on Valencia Street. Emma recognized the building. She'd passed in front of it hundreds of times when visiting her mother. She never knew Sophie lived there, that she'd been so close all this time. She parked 2 blocks away. She remained seated in the car for 15 minutes, trying to gather the courage to get out. Finally, at 6:47 p.m., she rang the bell for apartment 304. Sophie's voice came through the intercom, distorted but recognizable. Yes? It's me. A silence. Then the buzz that unlocked the door. Emma climbed the stairs slowly. Each step was a decision. She could turn around. She could run again. But her legs kept climbing. The door to 304 was ajar. Emma pushed gently and entered. The apartment was small but cozy. Cream-colored walls. Bookshelves full of civil codes and novels. A navy blue couch in front of a window overlooking an internal courtyard. And there, standing by the window, was Sophie. She wore jeans and a gray hoodie, hair loose, no makeup, barefoot, vulnerable in a way Emma hadn't seen at the Christmas dinner. They looked at each other without speaking. Emma closed the door behind her. You came, Sophie finally said. I came, Emma repeated, just like that dawn at Lake Tahoe. Sophie hugged herself, as if protecting herself from the cold, even though the apartment was warm. I wasn't sure you would. Neither was I. Another silence. Outside, the rain hit the windows with constant rhythm. "Do you want something to drink?" Sophie asked, resorting to courtesy when emotions were too big. "I have wine, coffee, water." "Sophie," Emma interrupted. "I didn't come here to drink something." "I know." Sophie dropped her arms. "Then why did you come?" "Because I owe you an explanation. Because I owe you the truth." "After 5 years?" Sophie's voice broke. "Now you want to give me the truth?" "Yes." "Okay." Sophie sat on the couch, with the rigid posture of someone preparing to receive a blow. "Talk." Emma sat on the other end of the couch, keeping distance because she knew that if she got too close, she couldn't think clearly. "That summer at Lake Tahoe was the first time I felt complete," she began. "For the first time in my life, I wasn't pretending. I wasn't playing a role. With you, I could be myself. And that terrified me." Sophie listened without interrupting. "When my mother called about my grandmother, it was like waking up from a dream. Suddenly, I remembered who I was supposed to be. The perfect daughter. The obedient granddaughter. The woman who would someday marry a good man and give grandchildren. And I knew that if I stayed with you, I'd have to give up all that. I'd have to tell my family something they could never accept. I never asked you to give up your family," Sophie said in low voice. "I only asked you to be honest, to let me be by your side while you did it. I know, and I was too much of a coward for that." Emma felt the tears rolling. "So I ran. I blocked your number. I avoided places where we might run into each other. I convinced myself it had just been a summer, that eventually I'd get over it. And did you get over it? What do you think?" Sophie looked at her with those honey-colored eyes that knew every shade of pain. "I think we both lied to ourselves saying we could get over it." "Why are you with Ryan?" Emma asked, needing to know. "Of all the people in the world, why my cousin?" Sophie let out a humorless laugh. "Do you want the truth or the version I tell myself to sleep at night?" "The truth. Because when I met him, he reminded me of you." Sophie wiped away a tear. "You have the same eyes, the same way of smiling. And I was so desperate to feel something, to not be alone, that I convinced myself I could fall in love with him. That if you shared DNA, maybe I could love him the same way I loved you." "Sophie." "But it didn't work. You can't replace someone with a cheap copy. And Ryan is good. He's kind. He treats me well. But when he kisses me, I feel nothing. When he touches me, I close my eyes and think of you, and that's unfair to him." Emma covered her face with her hands. "This is a mess." "Yes," Sophie agreed. "A beautiful and self-destructive mess." "What are we going to do?" Sophie slid closer on the couch. Their knees touched. Emma felt the familiar electricity. "I don't know," Sophie admitted. "But I know what I want to do right now." "What?" Sophie extended her hand, touching Emma's cheek with the same tenderness from 5 years ago. "I want to kiss you. I want to remember what it feels like not to lie, even if it's just for tonight. Even if tomorrow we have to go back to our lives built on secrets." Emma should have said no, that Sophie had a boyfriend, that boyfriend was her cousin, that this would only complicate things more. But 5 years of denying herself evaporated when Sophie's lips brushed hers. The kiss was different from those at Lake Tahoe. There was no more discovery. There was recognition. There were two women who'd missed each other so much that the simple act of kissing felt like coming home after a long exile. Sophie tangled her hands in Emma's hair. Emma wrapped her arms around Sophie's waist, pulling her closer. They kissed as if they were recovering every kiss they hadn't given each other in 5 years, as if they could compress all the lost love into this stolen moment. When they separated, both were crying. "I missed you so much," Sophie whispered. "Every day, every night, even when I tried to convince myself I hated you." "Me too," Emma responded. "Not a single day has passed that I didn't think about you." "Then why do we keep lying to ourselves? Why do we keep pretending we can live without this?" Emma had no answer. Or maybe she did, but it was too painful to admit out loud. Because love, no matter how genuine, wasn't always enough to overcome fear. They stayed on the couch, embracing, watching the rain wash the streets of the Mission District. Neither mentioned Ryan. Neither mentioned their families. Neither made plans. For that night, in that small apartment on Valencia Street, 2 women allowed themselves to exist in truth. Even if it was borrowed truth. Even if it was truth that would have to be returned when the sun came up. Emma stayed until past 11 at night. They talked. They kissed. They remembered Lake Tahoe. They cried for lost time. They planned futures they both knew would never happen. When Emma finally got up to leave, Sophie took her hand. "Will you come back?" Emma should have said no. That this had been a mistake. That they couldn't go on like this. But she said, "Yes, I'll come back." It was a promise as fragile as the first she'd made at Lake Tahoe. But this time, Emma was determined not to break it. The following days were exquisite torture. Emma returned to Sophie's apartment Saturday, then Sunday, each time with the excuse they were just going to talk. Each time they ended up kissing on that navy blue couch until the outside world ceased to exist. Monday, Ryan returned from Seattle. Sophie sent a brief message. "Can't see you this week. He's here." Emma read the message sitting at her desk, pretending to edit photos from a wedding she'd covered the month before. The bride smiled radiantly on the screen. The groom looked at her as if she were the only woman in the universe. Emma felt nauseous. Morgan arrived that afternoon with pizza and beer, a Monday tradition they'd maintained since college. "You have that face again," Morgan commented, leaving the food on the table. The "I'm self-destructing but can't stop" face. "I don't know what you're talking about," Emma lied, though she knew Morgan could read her like an open book. "How many times have you gone to see her?" 3. "In 4 days?" "Yes." Morgan sat on the couch with a sigh. This is going to explode. You know that, right?" "I know." "And what are you going to do when it explodes?" Emma didn't respond because she had no answer. She took a slice of pizza and chewed mechanically without tasting anything. "Do you realize you're having an affair with your cousin's girlfriend?" Morgan continued. "When this comes to light, and it will, it always does, your family is going to—" "My family can never know," Emma cut in sharply. "Nobody can know. So what's the plan? You're going to keep seeing each other in secret forever? Sophie's going to marry Ryan, and you're going to attend the wedding pretending you haven't been kissing her every time he leaves town?" Each word was a direct hit. Emma felt the tears burning behind her eyes. "I don't know, Morgan. I don't know what to do. I just know that when I'm with her, I feel complete. And when I'm not with her, I feel like I'm drowning." Morgan softened her expression. "I know, friend, but love isn't enough if it's killing you. What if it's the only thing keeping me alive?" There was no answer for that. The days dragged on. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Emma obsessively checked her phone, waiting for some message from Sophie. Nothing. Friday night, when she'd lost hope, the phone vibrated. "Ryan has a business dinner tomorrow, Saturday. He'll arrive at 8 p.m. You can come before, at 6. 2 hours. That's all I can give you. 2 hours. 120 stolen minutes. Emma responded immediately. I'll be there. Saturday, Emma arrived at the apartment exactly at 6 p.m. She rang the bell and Sophie opened so fast she must have been waiting by the door. They looked at each other for a second. Then Sophie pulled her inside and kissed her against the closed door with an urgency that hadn't been present in previous encounters. It was a desperate kiss. A kiss that knew time was running out. When they separated, both were breathless. I missed you, Sophie whispered. A week felt like a year. Me too, Emma responded, touching Sophie's face as if memorizing every detail. How was the week with him? Sophie's expression darkened. Let's not talk about that. We have 2 hours. I don't want to waste them talking about him. They moved to the couch. Sophie had prepared red wine and cheese. They tried to pretend normalcy, as if they were a regular couple on a regular afternoon. But the tension was palpable. The clock on the wall marked each passing minute like a countdown. Tell me about your week, Sophie asked, curling up against Emma. I worked, edited photos, lied to my mother when she called asking why I hadn't visited her. The usual. What did you tell her? That I was busy with a project. She asked if I'd met someone. I said no. Sophie laughed without humor. My mother asked me the same thing about Ryan. I told her everything was perfect, that there'd probably be a wedding soon. The silence that followed was dense. Has he proposed to you? Emma asked, feeling her stomach contract. No, but he's planning to. I found a receipt in his jacket when I took it to the dry cleaner. An engagement ring. 2-carat diamond. White gold. Emma felt the world tilt. And what are you going to say when he does? Sophie pulled away, getting up from the couch and walking to the window. I don't know. I should say yes, right? It's what any reasonable woman would do. Ryan is everything I'm supposed to want. Successful, handsome, from a good family. He treats me well. He's never raised his voice at me. He's never made me feel less. He's perfect. But you don't love him. No. Sophie rested her forehead against the cold glass. But maybe love is a luxury I can't afford. Emma got up and walked to her, hugging her from behind. Don't say that. Why not? It's the truth. Sophie turned in Emma's arms. Look at me, Em. I'm 27. I come from a family where women don't stay single. My older sister got married at 25. My younger sister is engaged and she's 24. I'm the middle one. The weird one. The one who took too long to settle down. And now I finally have a good man who wants to marry me. Do you think my family is going to understand if I reject him for no apparent reason? You could tell them the truth. And what is that truth? Sophie's eyes glistened with contained tears. That I'm in love with a woman who abandoned me 5 years ago? That I'm having an affair with that same woman while my boyfriend is planning to propose to me? That woman is my boyfriend's cousin? That's the truth you want me to share with my conservative Catholic family? Sophie. No, Em. Don't pretend this can have a happy ending. You know it as well as I do. That's why you ran the first time. The words fell like stones between them. I'm not running now, Emma said weakly. Aren't you? Sophie let out a bitter laugh. So tell me, what are we going to do? What's your plan? I don't have a plan. Exactly. Because there is no plan. There's no way out. There's only this. Sophie pointed at the space between them. Stolen moments. 2 hours a week if we're lucky. Constant lies. And eventually, when Ryan proposes to me, I'm going to have to choose between saying yes and destroying the little we have, or saying no and having to explain why. You could just break up with him. Emma suggested. Without getting married. Just break up. And then what? You and I come out of the closet magically? We move in together? We face our families holding hands? Sophie shook her head. You can't even tell your mother you're a lesbian. How are we going to face this together? The truth of those words hurt more than any physical blow. If this story is breaking your heart as much as it's breaking theirs, share it. Someone else needs to hear this. It's not fair, Emma murmured. No, it's not. But it's what there is. Sophie wiped her tears. Look, we have 40 minutes left of our 2 hours. Can we just not fight? Can we pretend for 40 more minutes that we're two normal people who love each other, and that's enough? Emma nodded, though she knew that pretending was just another form of lying. They returned to the couch. Sophie put on low music from her phone. Songs that talked about impossible loves and broken hearts. They curled up together. Emma stroked Sophie's hair while she closed her eyes, as if storing the moment in some safe place in her memory. Do you remember the night of the stars at Lake Tahoe? Sophie asked with sleepy voice. Every detail. You said magic takes time. 30 seconds that feel like forever. Yes. I wish we could freeze time. Stay in these 40 minutes forever. I wish that too. But time doesn't freeze. The clock continued its inexorable march. 7:30 came too fast. Sophie got up first, fixing her hair, erasing any evidence that Emma had been there. You have to go, she said without looking at Emma. He'll be here in 30 minutes. Emma got up, put her things in her bag. At the door, she stopped. When do I see you again? I don't know. He'll be here all week. He has vacation from work. The whole week? Yes. Sophie finally looked at her. I'm sorry. It's not your fault. Oh, but they both knew that wasn't completely true. They were both choosing this situation. They were both responsible for the pain they were creating. Emma went down the stairs, feeling each step like an additional weight on her shoulders. When she reached the street, she turned to look at the window of apartment 304. Sophie was there, watching her. They looked at each other until Emma had to look away. She walked to her car parked 2 blocks away. She was about to get in when she saw Ryan's silver BMW turning the corner. Panic. She crouched behind a parked car, feeling ridiculous but unable to risk Ryan seeing her leaving that area. She watched him park in front of Sophie's building. She saw him get out of the car with a bouquet of red roses and a bag of what looked like takeout food. She saw him whistle cheerfully as he entered the building. A man in love going to see his girlfriend. Emma felt nauseous. She waited 5 minutes before coming out of hiding and getting in her car. She drove back to Soma with silent tears rolling down her cheeks. In her head, she could imagine the scene. Ryan knocking on the door. Sophie opening with a smile Emma knew was fake. Him giving her the roses. Her thanking him. A chaste kiss on the lips. Dinner on the couch where 30 minutes ago Emma and Sophie had been curled up. The phone vibrated when she was at a red light. I'm sorry for everything. S. Emma didn't respond. She didn't know what to say. Instead, she put away the phone and drove the rest of the way in silence, with only the sound of traffic and her heart slowly breaking. The following week was a hell of silence. Sophie didn't write. Emma didn't either. They both knew it was safer that way. Less painful. Less complicated. Lie. It was just as painful. Emma immersed herself in work. She accepted 3 photo sessions she normally would have rejected. A quinceañera in the Mission. A baptism in Noe Valley. A maternity session in Golden Gate Park. Smiling women in their important moments. Emma captured others' happiness while hers disintegrated. Thursday night, her mother called. "Emma, I need you to come this Saturday," she said without preamble. "What for?" "Your cousin Ryan and Sophie are coming for lunch. He wants to make a special announcement. I think he's going to propose to her." Emma's world stopped. "I can't, Mom. I have work." "Cancel it. It's important. We're family. You have to be here." "Mom," Emma Marie Taylor, don't make me beg. You've already missed enough family gatherings. This one is important. Ryan specifically asked if you were going to be there. He says you're important to him and wants you present in this special moment of his life. The irony was so cruel, Emma wanted to laugh, or vomit, or both. "Okay," she finally said, defeated. "I'll be there." She hung up and immediately called Morgan. "I'm going to die," she said when her friend answered. "What happened?" "Ryan's going to propose to Sophie Saturday at my mother's house, and my mother is forcing me to attend." "Oh shit. What am I going to do, Morgan?" "Do you want the honest answer or the best friend answer?" "Both. The honest answer: you're going to go, you're going to keep your mouth shut, you're going to smile when he kneels down, and you're going to clap when she says yes, because that's what the situation requires, and because you have no other choice. And the best friend one? The best friend one is that you get drunk with me tonight because this is shit and you need a hug and 4 tequilas. Emma laughed through tears. "I accept the second option." Morgan arrived 40 minutes later with a bottle of Herradura tequila and determination in her eyes. They sat on the floor of Emma's apartment, drinking shots straight from the bottle, listening to heartbreak music at high volume. "You know what's the most fucked up thing?" Emma said after the third shot. "That part of me wants her to say yes, to end this suffering, so I can finally start getting over her. And the other part? The other part wants her to say no, for her to stand up in the middle of the proposal and scream that she can't marry him because she's in love with me, for everything to explode even if it destroys us both. What do you think she's going to do?" Emma drank another shot before responding. "She's going to say yes, because Sophie is practical, because she's 27 and has a family that expects her to get married, because Ryan is perfect on paper, and because I never had the courage to give her a real alternative. It's the truth, Morgan." Emma felt the hot tears rolling. "I did this. When I ran 5 years ago, I condemned our future. Everything that's happening now is a consequence of my cowardice. You can't blame yourself for being afraid. Why not? Sophie had the same fear, and she was willing to fight. I just ran." They drank in silence for a while. The bottle emptied. The tears flowed. Outside, the city continued with its nightlife, oblivious to the drama unfolding in that small Soma apartment. "Are you going to say something to her before Saturday?" Morgan eventually asked. "I don't know if I have the right." "That doesn't answer the question." Emma looked at her phone. There were no messages from Sophie. She wrote and deleted a message 5 times. Finally, she wrote, "Is it true? Saturday?" The response came almost immediately, as if Sophie had been waiting. "Yes. He planned everything. Your mother insisted it be at her house, surrounded by family. How ironic, right?" Emma wrote, "What are you going to say?" 3 dots blinked, disappeared, appeared again. Finally, "What do you want me to say?" It was an impossible question. If Emma said say no, what could she offer? More secret meetings, more lies, a life hidden forever? But if she said say yes, she'd be giving up Sophie definitively. She wrote, "I want you to be happy." Sophie's response was immediate. "Liar." Emma laughed through tears. Sophie knew her too well. Okay, I want you to say no. I want you to reject Ryan in front of my whole family. I want you to take my hand and tell them the truth. I want us to be brave together. Is that what you wanted to hear? The 3 dots blinked for what seemed like an eternity. Finally. And would you be willing to do that? For our family to know? To face the consequences? To live your truth even if it costs you everything? Emma looked at the message for a long time. Morgan watched her in silence without judging. The truth was, Emma didn't know if she had that courage. The idea of seeing the disappointment in her mother's eyes, of hearing the gossip at family gatherings, of being the lesbian niece instead of Emma the photographer, of losing the image she'd carefully built for 27 years. But the idea of seeing Sophie say yes to Ryan was worse. She wrote, "I need to see you before Saturday. Please." The response took 5 minutes. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m., Mission Dolores Park, where we used to sit." Emma showed the message to Morgan. "Are you going to go?" "Yes." "And what are you going to tell her?" "The truth. For the first time in 5 years, I'm going to tell the whole truth." Morgan raised the tequila bottle. "Then let's toast to the truth, even if it destroys us." They clinked the bottle against Emma's glass. "To the truth," Emma repeated, and she drank as if the tequila could give her the courage she lacked. Friday at 2 p.m., Emma arrived at Mission Dolores Park 10 minutes early. The park was moderately full. Mothers with baby strollers, elderly people feeding pigeons, tourists taking photos. Emma sat on the same bench where she'd sat with Sophie 5 years ago, under the jacaranda that now was beginning to show the first purple flowers of the season. Sophie arrived exactly at 2 p.m. She wore a long gray coat over dark jeans and boots, hair pulled back in a low bun, sunglasses hiding her eyes. She looked like a woman prepared to fight, or to say goodbye. She sat on the bench, leaving a prudent space between them. 2 strangers sharing a seat. Nothing to indicate they knew each other intimately, that they'd shared secrets in the darkness, that they knew how each other's skin felt. "Thanks for coming," Emma finally said. "I wasn't sure I should," Sophie admitted. "But here I am." They stayed in silence for a moment, watching a little girl chase pigeons while her mother yelled at her to be careful. "I need to ask you something," Emma began, "and I need you to be completely honest." "Okay. Do you love him? Ryan, I mean." Sophie took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were red, as if she'd been crying recently. "No. Not in the way you're supposed to love someone you're going to marry." "Then why are you with him?" "I already told you. Because it's easier. Because my parents adore him. Because after I came out to my family 5 years ago and it was a disaster, I decided it was simpler to live the lie." Sophie looked toward the jacaranda flowers. "My father didn't speak to me for 14 months. My mother cried every time she saw me, saying it was her fault, that she'd done something wrong raising me. My brothers avoided me at family gatherings, and I was alone. So completely alone that there were days I didn't want to get out of bed." Emma felt her chest tighten. "I didn't know it was that terrible for you." "How could you know?" Sophie looked at her with intensity. You left me to face everything alone. And when I finally gathered the courage to tell my family the truth, you weren't there anymore." "Sophie, No. Let me finish." Sophie took a deep breath. "I was alone for a year. I tried dating other women. None worked out. I tried therapy. I tried to accept I'd never be normal, according to my family's standards. And then, at a networking event 2 years ago, I met Ryan. He was kind. He asked about my work. He was interested in me in a way nobody else had been since since you. And you decided to be with him even though you didn't love him? I decided to try, to give him a chance, to see if I could learn to love him. Sophie wiped away a tear. And when I introduced him to my parents, I saw the light return to their eyes. My mother smiled at me again. My father hugged me like he hadn't in over a year. My brothers invited me to family dinners again. It was like I'd been forgiven. For stopping being who you are. For pretending to be who they need me to be. Emma took Sophie's hand. The contact was electric, as always. And does that make you happy? Sophie let out a humorless laugh. Happy? No, but I survive. And sometimes that's enough. No, it's not enough. Not for you. Emma squeezed her hand. You deserve more than to survive, Sophie. You deserve to live. And you? Sophie turned to look at her. Are you living, or just surviving with your carefully constructed lies? Emma couldn't hold her gaze. Touché. Exactly. We're both trapped. We both chose safety over truth. So don't judge me for doing the same thing you do. I'm not judging you. Emma searched for the right words. I'm begging you not to marry him. And then what? We ride off into the sunset together? We tell our families we've been having an affair? You finally come out to your mother? Each question was a stab. I don't know, but there has to be something better than this. Like what? Sophie pulled her hand away. Tell me, Emma. Give me a concrete alternative. Not dreams, not hopes, a real plan. Emma opened her mouth and realized she had no answer. She hadn't thought beyond begging Sophie to say no. She hadn't considered what would come after. That's what I thought, Sophie said sadly. You're still the same woman who ran from Lake Tahoe. You want what you can't have without being willing to fight for it. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. Sophie stood up from the bench. Look, I came here thinking maybe you'd have something real to offer me. Some reason to reject a good man who wants to build a life with me. But you have nothing. Just more of the same. Secret meetings. Lies. Fear. I have love, Emma said desperately. I love you. Doesn't that count for anything? Sophie looked at her with eyes full of tears. Love doesn't pay the bills. Love doesn't explain to my family why I'm rejecting a perfect man. Love doesn't keep me warm at night when I'm alone. Love isn't enough, Emma. I thought we'd learned that lesson 5 years ago. Sophie, wait. But Sophie was already walking away, walking quickly between the park trees. Emma stayed seated on the bench, paralyzed, watching the woman she loved disappear into the Friday afternoon crowd. Her phone vibrated. A message from Sophie. Tomorrow, I'm going to say yes. And I need you to understand it's not because I don't love you. It's because loving you is destroying me. And I can't keep destroying myself. I'm sorry. Emma read the message 5 times, then 10, as if the words could change meaning if she looked at them enough. She stayed on that bench until the sun began to set, until the mothers collected their children and went home, until the elderly finished feeding the pigeons, until the park emptied, and only the long shadows of the trees and the scent of jacaranda flowers remained. Then she cried. She cried for the summer she lost, for the love she couldn't defend, for the woman she'd been too much of a coward to fight for what she wanted. When she finally got up from the bench, with numb legs and swollen eyes, she knew she had 2 options. She could go to Saturday's lunch, watch Ryan kneel down, watch Sophie say yes, clap along with the family, pretend happiness, let this chapter close definitively. Or she could do what she should have done 5 years ago. She drove back to her apartment on autopilot. Once inside, She sat in front of her computer and opened a blank document. She wrote for 3 hours, without stopping, without editing, just letting the truth flow from her fingers to the words on the screen. When she finished, it was almost 11 at night. She had 6 pages. A letter to her mother, a confession, a truth she'd been keeping for 27 years. She read it once, then she printed it. She took her phone and called Morgan. "I need you to come now," she said, when her friend answered with sleepy voice. "What happened?" "I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell my mother the truth. Tomorrow, before lunch." There was a silence on the other end. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm going to do it anyway." "I'm on my way," Morgan said, and Emma could hear the sound of keys and shoes on the other end. "Give me 20 minutes. Morgan arrived in 15 minutes with a bag of donuts and coffee. She sat on the couch while Emma paced back and forth, with the printed letter trembling in her hands. "Read it to me," Morgan asked. Emma took a deep breath and began to read. "Mom, I'm writing you this letter because I've been a coward for too long, because I've lied by omission, because I've let you believe something about me that isn't true. I'm 27 years old, and I've never had a boyfriend. It's not because I haven't found the right man. It's because I've never been looking for a man. I'm a lesbian, Mom. I know those words are going to hurt you. I know it's not what you expected from your only daughter. I know you've dreamed of my wedding in a church, with a handsome man, with grandchildren who carry the Taylor name. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry I can't give you that. But I can't keep living a lie. I can't keep pretending to be someone I'm not, just to make you happy. 5 years ago, I met a woman at Lake Tahoe. Her name is Sophie Miller, and I fell in love with her in a way I'd never experienced. For the first time in my life, I felt complete. I felt seen. I felt loved for who I really am. But I was scared. Scared to tell you. Scared to disappoint you. Scared to lose your love. So I ran. I let go of the love of my life because it was easier than facing the truth. Now she's with Ryan, and tomorrow he's going to propose to her at your house. And I have to be there, pretending happiness, when really my heart is breaking. I'm not telling you this to ruin Ryan's celebration. I'm telling you because I can't keep living in the shadows. Because I deserve the chance to be happy. And because I hope, though I'm afraid I'm wrong, that you love me enough to accept me as I am. If you can't accept me, I'll understand. But I can't keep being a perfect daughter if that means not being myself. I love you, Mom. I've always loved you. And I hope that's enough. Emma. When she finished reading, Morgan was crying. "It's perfect," she said. "It's brave. It's honest. It's everything it should have been 5 years ago. Do you think it will work?" "I don't know," Morgan admitted. "But at least you'll have said your truth, and that's more than you've done until now." Emma carefully folded the letter and put it in an envelope. "I'm going to arrive early tomorrow, before Ryan and Sophie arrive. I'm going to give her this letter, and then," her voice broke, "then I'm going to see what happens. And if it goes badly, then at least I'll have tried. At least Sophie will know I was willing to fight, even if it's too late." Morgan got up and hugged her friend. "I'm proud of you." "I don't feel proud. I feel terrified." Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's doing the right thing despite the fear. That night, Emma didn't sleep. She stayed awake looking at the white envelope on her nightstand. She mentally rehearsed 1,000 different scenarios. In some, her mother cried, but eventually accepted her. In others, she asked her to leave and never come back. In the worst ones, the whole family found out and rejected her completely. But she also imagined a different scenario, one where Sophie heard that Emma had come out, where she understood that Emma had finally found the courage. Where maybe, just maybe, Sophie reconsidered her decision. It was an improbable scenario, almost impossible. But it was the only thing keeping her sane. At 6 a.m., she showered. She dressed in jeans and a simple white blouse. Nothing fancy. Clothes of someone ready for battle, not for a celebration. At 9 a.m., she was in her car, driving to the Mission District. The letter in the passenger seat. Heart beating so loud she could hear it over the radio. She arrived at her mother's house at 9:30 a.m. Ryan's car wasn't there yet. Perfect. She knocked on the door. Her mother opened with a smile, surprised to see her so early. "Emma, I didn't expect you until noon. I need to talk to you, Mom, alone, before everyone else arrives." Linda's smile faltered at the seriousness in her daughter's voice. "Is everything okay?" "No, but it's going to be." Emma extended the envelope. "Read this, please, and then we'll talk." Her mother took the envelope with trembling hands, as if she could feel the weight of the words inside. Emma entered the house. She sat on the living room couch, the same couch where she'd grown up watching cartoons, where she'd done elementary school homework, where she'd pretended to be normal for 27 years. Linda opened the envelope. She took out the pages. She began to read. Emma watched her mother's face go through a spectrum of emotions: confusion, shock, pain, denial, tears. When she finished reading, Linda left the pages on the coffee table with trembling hands. She sat in silence for what seemed like an eternity. Finally, she spoke. "Is it true? All of this?" "Yes." "Sophie? Ryan's girlfriend?" "Yes." "And you two?" "Yes, Mom." Linda covered her mouth with her hands. Tears now flowed freely. My God, how could I not have realized? Because I was very good at hiding it. Because I lied for years. Since when? Always, Mom. Since I can remember. I knew I was different. I just didn't know how to call it. Her mother got up and began pacing around the living room. Emma watched her, feeling her own heart breaking with each step. "What will the family say?" Linda murmured. "What will the neighbors think? How am I going to explain this?" "You don't have to explain anything. This is my life, my truth." "And Ryan?" Her mother looked at her with accusing eyes. "Do you know what this is going to do to him? He's going to propose today. How am I going to allow that, knowing his girlfriend is... I don't know what's going to happen with Ryan. I only know I can't keep quiet anymore." Linda sat down again, hands trembling. "I need time. I need to process this." "I understand. Are you going to tell anyone else? Today?" Emma took a deep breath. "That depends on how you react. Are you threatening me?" "No. I'm being honest with you. If you can't accept me, then there's no point in me being here when Ryan arrives. I'll leave before they get here. But if you can, if there's even a small possibility that you can accept this, accept me, then I'll stay." Her mother looked at her for a long time. Emma could see the conflict in her eyes. Maternal love fighting against years of social conditioning. Acceptance fighting against fear of what people will say. Finally, Linda spoke with broken voice. "You're my daughter, and I love you. But this is a lot. Too much. I don't know how to process all this. How much time do you need?" "I don't know." It wasn't a yes, but it wasn't a no either. Emma got up. "Okay, I'll give you time, but you need to know something. I'm going to live my truth, with or without your acceptance, because I can't keep hiding anymore." She left the house before her mother could respond. before the tears she'd been holding back finally came out. She got in her car and drove aimlessly, not knowing where to go, what to do, how to process everything that had just happened. Her phone rang, an unknown number. "Hello? Emma." It was Sophie's voice, trembling. "Your mother just called Ryan. She told him to cancel today's lunch, that there was a family emergency." Emma felt her heart stop. Did she tell him why? No, but Ryan is confused and upset. And Sophie paused. "What did you do, Emma?" I told her the truth, silence on the other end. "All the truth? All of it? Oh my God, are you crazy?" "Probably, but I was already tired of being sane." "And now what?" Sophie asked, and her voice sounded between terrified and hopeful. "Now," Emma said, feeling something like courage growing in her chest. "Now I ask you if what you said in the park was true. That love isn't enough, because I think it is, and I'm willing to prove it. Emma, I need to see you. Now. Where are you?" "At my apartment. Ryan left to talk to your mother. I stayed here. Don't move. I'm coming over." She hung up before Sophie could protest, before she could change her mind, before fear could win again. For the first time in 5 years, Emma Taylor was going to fight for what she wanted, and this time, she wasn't going to run away. Comment now what you think about this story. Comments help more people discover it. Emma drove to the Mission District as if in a trance. The city's streets blurred. Traffic lights were just blobs of color. The only thing real was the frantic beating of her heart and the certainty that she'd crossed a point of no return. When she arrived at Sophie's building, she didn't bother parking far away like she'd done all the previous times. She left the car in front of the building, double parked, with the hazard lights on. It didn't matter anymore who saw her. She climbed the stairs 2 at a time. She knocked on the door of apartment 304 with urgency. Sophie opened almost immediately. Her eyes were red, hair loose and disheveled. She wore the same gray hoodie Emma had come to recognize as her difficult day's clothes. They looked at each other without speaking. Then Emma entered, closed the door behind her, and kissed Sophie like she never had before. It wasn't a soft kiss. It was desperate. It was a kiss that said everything words couldn't. "I chose you. I finally chose you. Please don't abandon me now." Sophie responded with the same intensity, tangling her hands in Emma's hair, pulling her closer, as if wanting to merge into one person. When they separated, both were crying. "What did you do?" Sophie whispered. "What did you just do?" "What I should have done 5 years ago," Emma responded, taking Sophie's face in her hands. "I told my mother the truth, all the truth, about me, about you, about us." "Emma, that's..." Sophie covered her mouth. "Do you have any idea what this means?" "Yes. It means my mother probably won't speak to me for months. It means half my family is going to judge me. It means Christmas dinners are going to be awkward for the rest of my life." Emma wiped Sophie's tears with her thumbs. "But it also means I don't have to lie anymore. That I can look you in the eyes without feeling shame. That I can say out loud that I love you. And Ryan? I don't know. My mother told him to cancel the lunch. I guess eventually she'll have to tell him something, or maybe you'll have to." Sophie pulled away, walking to the window. Emma could see the tension in her shoulders. "This is real," Sophie murmured. "It's not a secret anymore. We can't pretend it's not happening anymore. No, we can't anymore. And what if I regret it?" Sophie turned around, her expression vulnerable in a way Emma had never seen. What if in a year or 2 or 5, I decide I can't handle this, that the pressure is too much, that I want to go back to the safety of the lie? Emma walked toward her, slowly. Then you'll have every right to leave. I'm not going to hold you against your will, but at least we'll have tried. At least we'll have given ourselves the chance to be truly happy. How can you be so sure? Because I've spent 5 years living without you. And that's not life. It's just existing. Emma took Sophie's hands. I'd rather have 1 year with you facing the world than 50 years pretending I don't feel what I feel. Sophie closed her eyes, tears rolling silently. I have to break up with Ryan. I know. It's going to hurt. He's a good man. He doesn't deserve this. No, he doesn't deserve to be with someone who doesn't love him completely. Emma squeezed her hands. But you're right. He deserves the truth. What truth am I going to tell him? Sophie opened her eyes. That I've been having an affair with his cousin while he was planning to propose to me? No, Emma said firmly. You're going to tell him you realized you can't marry him because you don't love him the way he deserves to be loved. Period. The rest is between you and me. And when he asks if there's someone else, you tell him the truth. That yes, there is someone else. But you don't have to tell him who. Sophie let out a bitter laugh. Eventually, he's going to find out. Eventually, they're all going to find out. Probably. But when that happens, it won't be a stolen secret anymore. It'll be our truth. And we'll face it together. Sophie's phone vibrated on the table. They both looked at the screen. It was Ryan. I have to answer, Sophie said. I know. Answer. Sophie took the phone with trembling hands and slid to answer. Hello? Emma could hear Ryan's agitated voice on the other end, though she couldn't distinguish the words. Yes, I'm okay, Sophie responded. No, I don't know what happened exactly. Your aunt just said there was a family emergency. Yes, I understand you're confused. No, I don't think you should go confront her now. Ryan, listen to me. We need to talk. The two of us. Alone. No, it can't wait. Yes, it's important. Sophie took a deep breath. It can be at your apartment. Give me an hour. She hung up. She stayed looking at the phone as if it were a grenade without a pin. 1 hour, Emma repeated. 1 hour to find the courage to destroy a good man's life. 1 hour to be honest. There's a difference. Sophie put down the phone and approached Emma, hugging her tightly. I'm scared. Me too. What if I back out? What if I get there and can't tell him the truth? Emma pulled away slightly, looking into her eyes. Then I'll be here, waiting for you, because I know this is difficult. But I also know who you are, Sophie Miller. You're the bravest woman I know. The woman who was willing to come out to her family even though she knew it would be painful. The woman who spent a year alone because she didn't want to settle for less than she deserved. The woman who loved me even though I didn't deserve that love. Emma, you can do this. I know it. Sophie nodded, though her eyes were still full of fear. What are you going to do meanwhile? I'm going to my mother's house, to face whatever comes next. Are you sure? No, but I'm going to do it anyway. They kissed one more time, soft, a silent promise that this wasn't goodbye. Emma left the apartment feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders, but also something lighter, something like hope. When Emma arrived back at her mother's house, Ryan's car was no longer there. Only her mother's old Nissan parked in the driveway. She rang the doorbell. She waited. Nobody opened. She rang again. "Mom, I know you're there. Please, open up." Silence. Emma sat on the front step. She wasn't going to leave. Not this time. 20 minutes passed before the door finally opened. Linda was there, with swollen eyes from crying. Emma got up slowly. "Can I come in?" Her mother nodded without speaking and stepped aside. They entered the living room. Linda sat in her favorite chair, the one that had been her own mother's. Emma sat on the couch, keeping distance. "I talked to Father Martinez," her mother finally said. Emma felt a knot in her stomach. Father Martinez was the priest from the parish they'd attended their whole lives. "You told him?" "I asked him, in general terms, what he would do if his son or daughter confessed to him that they have those inclinations." "They're not inclinations, Mom. It's who I am." Linda wiped her tears. "He said God loves all his children, but that some paths are wrong. That I should love you but not support your lifestyle." "And what do you think?" "I don't know what to think." Her mother looked at her with genuine pain. "You're my daughter. I've raised you. I've loved you. I thought I knew you. And now I discover you've been lying for years." "I haven't lied to you about who I am as a person, Mom. Only about a part of me I knew you wouldn't accept." "How do you know I wouldn't have accepted it? Did you ever give me a chance to?" Emma stayed silent. "It was a fair question. I was 17 when I realized," she finally said. "A schoolmate asked me out, and when she kissed me, I felt something I'd never felt with any boy. It terrified me. I came home and you were watching a soap opera where two men kissed. Do you remember what you said?" Linda closed her eyes. "No. You said, 'What a shame. Poor families of those boys. How can they show that on television?'" Emma felt the pain of that memory. "I was 17, Mom. I had just realized something fundamental about myself. And I heard you say it was a shame. How was I supposed to tell you after that?" Her mother covered her mouth. "I didn't. Emma, I was just repeating what everyone said. I didn't think." "Exactly. You didn't think. Because you never believed it could be your daughter. You never believed someone in your own family could be gay. So it was easy to judge." Linda got up and walked to the shelf where the family photos were. She took one of Emma when she was 15, smiling at her quinceañera in a bright pink dress. "That day you looked so happy," she murmured. "I thought you were the perfect daughter, the perfect quinceañera, the perfect future." "It was an act, Mom. That whole day was an act because I knew it was what you expected of me." "Was none of it real?" "My love for you was real. My desire to make you happy was real. But the girl in that pink dress, that wasn't me. That was who I thought I had to be." Her mother put the photo back on the shelf. "And Sophie, is she the first?" "No, there were others, but she is..." Emma searched for the words. "She's the only one who has truly mattered. The only one I was willing to risk everything for." "Including your family?" "I don't want to lose my family, Mom. But I also can't keep living a lie. Not anymore." Linda sat down again, looking exhausted. "I need time, Emma. This is a lot. Too much. I don't know how to process all this." "I understand." "And what happens with Ryan? Do I have to tell him his girlfriend is in love with my daughter?" "Sophie's going to talk to him. Today. She's going to end their relationship." "My God." Linda rubbed her temples. "This is going to destroy that boy." "I know, and I'm sorry. But it would be worse to let him marry someone who doesn't love him." "And then what? You and Sophie are going to be together?" Openly? Emma took a deep breath. That's the plan. The family is going to find out. The neighbors are going to talk. People at church. Let them talk. I'm already tired of living for others' opinions. Her mother looked at her with an expression Emma couldn't decipher. Was it admiration? Pain? Disappointment? Probably all at once. You're braver than I am, Linda finally said. I would never have had the courage to go against what was expected of me. It's not bravery, Mom. It's survival, because living the lie was killing me. They stayed in silence for a long moment. The wall clock marked the seconds. Outside, a street vendor shouted. I don't know if I can accept this, her mother said finally, her voice breaking. But I also don't know if I can lose you. You're my only daughter. You don't have to decide now. Just think about it. And when you're ready to talk, I'll be here. Emma got up to leave. At the door, her mother called her. Emma. She turned around. Does she make you happy, Sophie? Happier than I've been in 5 years. Linda nodded slowly. Then at least that's something. It wasn't acceptance, but it wasn't total rejection either. It was a gray space, a starting point. Emma left the house feeling like she'd just run a marathon. She was exhausted, emotionally destroyed, but also, for the first time in years, she felt free. Her phone vibrated. A message from Sophie. I did it. I told him the truth. He's devastated, but it's done. Can we see each other? Emma responded immediately. I'm on my way. Emma arrived at Sophie's apartment 40 minutes later. This time, when she climbed the stairs, she didn't feel fear. She didn't feel shame. She only felt urgency to get to where Sophie was. She knocked on the door. Sophie opened with red and swollen eyes. She'd been crying. A lot. They hugged on the threshold without saying a word. Emma felt Sophie's body trembling with contained sobs. Come, Emma murmured, guiding her inside. Tell me what happened. They sat on the navy blue couch. Sophie had a half-empty box of tissues on the armrest. She wiped her face before speaking. I told him I couldn't marry him, that I appreciated him, that I thought he was a wonderful man, but that I didn't love him the way he deserved to be loved. How did he react? At first, he didn't understand. He thought I was scared of the commitment, that I just needed time. Sophie took another tissue. I told him it wasn't that there was someone else, that I'd been struggling with this for weeks. Did you tell him who? No, he asked me. He begged me to tell him. But I told him it didn't matter, that what mattered was I couldn't keep lying to him. Emma took Sophie's hand. How did it end? He cried. Sophie's voice broke. A 30-year-old man crying in front of me because I broke his heart. He told me he thought we were going to grow old together, that he'd planned a whole life with me, that he'd talked to his mother about the wedding. Sophie. And the worst part is, he was still kind. Even while he was crying, he asked me if I was okay, if there was anything he could do to make me change my mind. Sophie covered her face. He's such a good man, Emma, and I hurt him so much. You didn't want to hurt him, but I did. Sophie looked at her. I hurt a man who never did anything wrong to me, a man who truly loved me, and all because I couldn't be honest from the beginning. We both contributed to this, Emma said firmly. Me as much as you, maybe more. He asked if we could still be friends. Sophie let out a humorless laugh. Can you imagine? After all this, he still wants to be my friend. And what did you tell him? I told him maybe someday, but that right now he needed space, that we both needed it. They stayed in silence for a moment. Emma hugged Sophie while she cried on her shoulder. She cried for Ryan, for the pain she caused him, for the life they would never live together, for the simplicity they would never have. When the sobs finally calmed, Sophie pulled away and looked at Emma. "And you? How was it with your mother?" "Difficult, confusing, but better than I expected." Emma told her about the conversation, about Father Martinez, about the 15-year-old photo, about her mother's last question. She asked if you made me happy. "Yes. And what did you say?" "The truth. That happier than I've been in 5 years." Sophie smiled for the first time, though her eyes were still sad. "Now we have to figure out how to make this work, in the real world, not just in secret meetings." "I know, and it won't be easy." "No." Sophie took Emma's face in her hands. "Your family is going to know. My family is going to know. Ryan is eventually going to find out who the other person is. There will be gossip, judgments, people who turn their backs on us." "Yes." "And you still want to do this?" Emma kissed Sophie softly. "More than anything in the world." "Then let's do it right. No more lies. No more secrets." "No more secrets," Emma agreed. They spent the rest of the afternoon planning. Not a fantasy future, but a real one. Sophie would finish moving out completely from her apartment. Emma would talk to Morgan about getting a bigger place they could share when they were ready. Sophie would have to face her family eventually. Emma would have to talk to her mother again. It wasn't romantic. It was practical. It was real. But it was theirs. 3 weeks later, Emma was in her apartment editing photos when the doorbell rang. She opened the door and found her mother standing in the hallway, holding a container with food. "I made your favorite pot roast," Linda said without preamble. "I thought, maybe we could eat together." Emma felt tears burning in her eyes. "Mom, I haven't changed my mind about everything," her mother interrupted quickly. "I'm still processing, still struggling with this. But you're my daughter, and I miss you. So I thought, small steps." "Small steps," Emma repeated, stepping aside. "Come in." They ate in silence at first. Then her mother began talking about mundane things. The grocery store, the neighbors, the TV show she was watching. Nothing about Sophie. Nothing about sexual orientation. Just mother and daughter sharing a meal. When they finished, Linda left the dishes in the sink. "Can I meet her?" she asked without looking at Emma. "Sophie, eventually. Not now, but eventually." Emma felt her heart expanding. "Really? I'm not promising anything. Maybe it'll be awkward. Maybe I won't know what to say. But if she's important to you, then I suppose I should try." "Mom." Emma hugged her mother, who got stiff first, but then reciprocated awkwardly. "Thank you." "Don't thank me yet. This is still hard for me." "I know, but that you're trying, that's all I was asking for." After her mother left, Emma sent a message to Sophie. "My mother wants to meet you. Not now, but eventually. Can you believe it?" The response came quickly. "Should I be terrified?" "Probably. But you'll be with me, and that makes all the difference. Always with you. That's my promise." 2 months later, Emma and Sophie walked through Mission Dolores Park holding hands. It was Sunday afternoon. The park was full of families. Children running, couples strolling, elderly people on benches. Some people looked at them. Emma could see the sidelong glances, the whispers. But she also saw a young couple of women smile at them. An older man nod in approval. A mother point them out to her teenage daughter, as if saying, "See, love exists in many forms." They sat under the jacaranda in full bloom. Purple flowers fell like soft rain around them. "Do you remember when I told you magic takes time?" Emma asked. 30 seconds that feel like forever," Sophie responded. "I remember. I think I was wrong." Emma intertwined her fingers with Sophie's. "The real magic isn't in freezing time. It's in living it, in every second, even if it's difficult, even if it hurts, because it's real." "Very philosophical for a Sunday afternoon," Sophie joked, but her eyes were bright. "Do you regret it? Everything that happened? Everything we had to sacrifice?" Emma thought about her mother, who was slowly learning to accept. About Ryan, who had stopped answering her calls after finding out the truth. About the aunts who no longer invited her to family gatherings. About clients who had canceled sessions when they found out. But she also thought about waking up next to Sophie every morning. About not having to hide. About being able to say "my girlfriend" without fear. About being completely herself for the first time in her life. "No," she finally responded. "I don't regret anything." A jacaranda flower fell on Sophie's hair. Emma gently removed it. "Do you know what day it is today?" Sophie asked. "Sunday?" "Yes, but it's also exactly 5 years and 3 months since we met at Lake Tahoe." Emma smiled. "Have you been counting?" "Every day." Sophie sat up, looking at Emma. 5 years and 3 months since my life changed. 5 years of which I spent most trying to forget you. And now we're here, together. Real, without hiding. It was worth the wait. Completely. Sophie leaned in and kissed Emma softly, not caring who was watching. Though I wish we hadn't wasted so much time. We didn't waste it. Emma pushed a strand of hair away from her face. We used it to learn, to grow, to become the people we needed to be for this to work. When did you become so wise? Since I have someone worth being brave for. Subscribe so you don't miss more stories that make you feel. YouTube prioritizes subscribers, and those who aren't subscribed miss out on stories like this one. A mariachi group began playing at the park kiosk. "Bésame mucho," Sophie laughed. "Shall we dance? Here? In the middle of the park? In front of everyone?" "Why not? We're not hiding anymore, remember?" Emma stood and extended her hand. Sophie took it and they stood up under the jacaranda. They began to dance slowly, swaying to the rhythm of the music. Some people stopped to watch. A small boy pointed and asked his mother why 2 women were dancing together. The mother responded with something Emma couldn't hear, but the boy nodded as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Maybe it was, or maybe someday it would be. When the song ended, the mariachis bowed. Emma and Sophie clapped along with the rest of the audience. "I have something for you," Sophie said suddenly, reaching into her purse. "What is it?" Sophie pulled out a white envelope. She handed it to Emma. "Open it." Emma opened the envelope curiously. Inside were 2 plane tickets. "Lake Tahoe," she read. "Next month?" "I reserved the same cabin. Well, not the exact one, but a similar one in the same place." Sophie smiled nervously. "I thought maybe we could go back, create new memories, better ones, where we don't have to hide from anyone." Emma felt tears forming. "It's perfect." "Yes? Absolutely perfect." They kissed again under the jacaranda flowers, oblivious to the world around them. For the first time, it wasn't a stolen kiss. It wasn't a secret. It was simply 2 people in love, existing in their truth. The day Emma and Sophie arrived at Lake Tahoe was clear and sunny. The lake sparkled under the mid-morning sun. The pines smelled exactly as Emma remembered, but everything was different. There was no need for separate rooms, no furtive glances, no lies. Emma took out her camera and began photographing. Sophie against the lake, Sophie among the trees. Sophie smiling in a way she had never been able to photograph before, because that smile had been only for stolen moments. "My turn," Sophie said, taking the camera away. "I'm not photogenic." "Liar. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever photographed." Emma laughed but posed anyway. Sophie took photos, many photos. Emma serious, Emma laughing, Emma looking at the lake with a thoughtful expression. That night, they walked to the same clearing where they had kissed for the first time under the stars. The sky was just as full of bright points. The Milky Way, just as impressive. 30 seconds, Emma murmured, adjusting her camera on the tripod. "That feel like forever," Sophie completed. But this time, when the camera captured the stars, Sophie was in the frame. Emma had set the timer. The photo would show two women embracing under an impossibly starry sky. A photo that Emma would eventually print and hang in the living room of their new apartment. A photo that her mother would see when she finally accepted the invitation to dinner. A photo that represented everything they had lost and everything they had gained. "What are you thinking?" Sophie asked, snuggling against Emma. "That 5 years ago, in this same place, I kissed you for the first time, and I thought it was the happiest moment of my life. And now? Now I know I was wrong." Emma kissed Sophie's forehead. "Because every moment with you is the happiest, not just one, all of them." Cheesy. True. They stayed there until the cold forced them back to the cabin. They made coffee. They sat in front of the fireplace. They talked about future plans, about where they wanted to live, about whether they'd adopt a dog, about when Sophie would finally meet Morgan officially, about when Emma would meet Sophie's parents, if Sophie ever felt ready for that step. "Do you think it'll ever be easy?" Sophie asked. "No, probably not." Emma intertwined her fingers. "There will always be people who don't understand, who judge, who think we're wrong. But there will also be people who do understand." "Exactly. Like Morgan. Like eventually, I hope, my mother. Like that couple who smiled at us in the park." "Is it enough?" Emma thought about the question. She thought about everything they had faced, about everything they still had to face. "We have each other," she finally said. "That has to be enough, because it's really all we need." Sophie smiled and clinked her coffee against Emma's in a silent toast. For new beginnings, for truths told, for loves that waited 5 years to bloom, for everything that came before and everything that would come after. That night, while they slept embraced in the cabin at Lake Tahoe, Emma had a dream. She dreamed of a future. Not perfect, because no future is, but theirs. Authentic. Real. A future where her mother eventually learned to love Sophie almost as much as Emma did. Where Ryan healed and found someone who loved him completely. Where the family little by little accepted, or at least tolerated. Where she and Sophie built a life together, with all the small joys and sorrows that implied. A future worth every tear, every moment of fear, every sacrifice. Because in the end, love isn't about being easy. It's about being worthwhile. And this, definitely, was worthwhile. 1 year later, the photography gallery in Soma was full. Emma had never imagined her first solo exhibition would have so many people. But there they were, friends, colleagues, some family members, strangers who had seen the advertising on social media. And in the center of the main room, the largest photograph of all. 2 women under a starry sky at Lake Tahoe. The label said, 30 seconds of eternity. Emma stood next to Sophie, watching people observe her photographs. Each image told a story, not just their story. Stories of love, of truth, of people daring to exist authentically. There are a lot of people, Sophie murmured. I know. It panics me. But I'm proud of you. Emma squeezed her hand. I couldn't have done it without you. Of course you could. These are your photographs. Your talent. But you're my inspiration. A throat clearing interrupted them. Emma turned and almost dropped her wine glass. Her mother was there, in an elegant navy blue dress, with her hair done, with a nervous but determined expression. Mom, you came. You said it was important to you. Linda looked around. It's a nice gallery. Thanks for coming, Sophie intervened with a cautious voice. Linda looked at her. A year of awkward meetings, of tense dinners, of careful conversations. It wasn't easy. It probably would never be completely easy. But it was better than silence. Your pot roast was a hit at last Saturday's dinner, Linda finally said, addressing Sophie. Emma was right. Your recipe is better than mine. Sophie blinked in surprise. Thank you. Though I still think you put too much garlic in it. It was a small joke, barely an attempt. But it was something. Emma felt tears forming. Mom, don't get too emotional, her mother interrupted. I just came to see the photos. Can you show me your favorite? Emma guided her mother through the gallery, explaining each photograph. Sophie followed at a prudent distance, giving them space. When they reached the Lake Tahoe photo, Linda stopped. This one, she said. This one is special. How do you know? Because I see you in it. My real daughter, not the one who was pretending. Her mother barely touched the glass of the frame. You're really smiling in this photo. I am. Then I suppose that's what's important. Linda turned to Emma. I'm not going to lie and say I completely understand all this, or that I don't have days when I wish things were different, simpler. But you're my daughter, and you deserve to be happy, even if your happiness looks different from what I imagined. Emma hugged her mother, not caring that they were in the middle of a gallery full of people. Thank you, Mom, for trying, for being here. Well, Linda wiped her eyes. Someone has to make sure your girlfriend knows how to make pot roast correctly. Sophie approached then, and the 3 of them stood there, in front of the photograph that represented a before and after. A moment of bravery under infinite stars. It wasn't perfect. Linda's acceptance was still fragile. There were family members who still didn't speak to Emma. There were moments of tension, of discomfort. But it was real, and that was enough. Later that night, after the gallery closed and everyone left, Emma and Sophie walked back to their apartment holding hands. I think it was a success, Sophie said. We sold 3 photographs. Exactly, a total success. Emma laughed. Your optimism is contagious. Someone has to balance your pessimism. They entered the apartment they now officially shared. It was small, a bit messy with photography equipment and law books. But it was theirs. Emma looked around. At the photographs on the walls. At the table where Sophie studied legal cases. At the kitchen where they tried to cook together with varying results. At the window that overlooked the busy Soma Street. What are you thinking? Sophie asked, hugging her from behind. About that Christmas dinner, a year ago, when I saw you walk into my mother's house and I thought my world was ending. And now? Now I think my world was just beginning. Sophie kissed her cheek. Ours. Our world was beginning. Our world, Emma repeated, turning in Sophie's arms. I like how that sounds. Me too. They kissed under the soft light of the apartment. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It was simple, everyday, real. It was perfect. Because in the end, Emma had learned that happy endings aren't perfect. They're complicated. They're difficult. They require constant work and daily courage. But when you find the right person, when you finally dare to live your truth, all that work is worth it. Every single second of it. And as Emma fell asleep that night, curled against Sophie in the bed they shared without having to hide, without having to lie, she knew she had made the right decision. 5 years ago, she had run from love out of fear. But now, finally, she had run toward it. And that had made all the difference. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel. Here we share real stories of love, truth, and bravery. Stories you need to hear. Don't miss the next one.